On the northern coast of Crete, a peaceful visitor, the Calypso, enters the often embattled port of Heraklion. Key to power in the inland sea, Crete repeatedly has changed hands among the warring Mediterranean nations. Around this fortress once swirled a many-sided battle. Held by the Venetians, it was besieged by the Turks, themselves attacked by the Venetian navy with ships of a supposedly neutral France. On July 24, 1669, the Great Fleet bombarded the Turks with devastating effect. But the battle's outcome was abruptly altered by the explosion of the French ship Therese, with a loss of 350 men and 70 cannon, causing such heavy damage to nearby sister ships that the fleet was forced to withdraw. Led by a diver's report, the Calypso team descends to see what relics history has left behind. At first, the bottom reveals little more than a metal bowl half buried in the sediment. But now, a curiously encrusted mound rising from the sea floor seems more interesting. It is here that the divers encounter the first grim evidence of the battle fought more than 3 centuries ago. The small, round pellets of grape shot. Unlike cannonballs intended to break masts or hulls, these were designed to kill. Now a diver brushes away the dust to expose the skull of a victim in that long-ago confrontation. One of the French volunteers who gave their lives in a dubious battle in which their own monarch, Louis XIV, maintained close diplomatic and commercial ties with both the Venetian and Turkish antagonists. Darkened perhaps by the explosion itself, the first finds are examined on the Calypso, where divers Albert Falco and Raymond Call tell the Greek advisor, Lazar Kalonis, the bottom is littered with similar debris. Not only skulls and shattered bones, but also relics such as the knife sharpener dated 1668, a year before the Therese sinking.
1 year before the Creta with Arabian.
Yes.
Yes.
Turk.
Yes.
Turk.
Turk, yes.
Turk.
In hope of uncovering even more important finds, possibly even the hull of the Therese herself, the great suction tube, the Sisseuse, is assembled and lowered to the bottom to remove the accumulated sediment of centuries. Again, as it edges into the silt and gravel, more bones appear. Sucked up from the bottom, the gravel and sediment are flushed through a strainer hung from the Calypso's side. Later, the team searches through the accumulated debris for hidden artifacts. More jaw bones are found, as well as other fossil remains. Even a pocket sundial and a gold coin of the preceding monarch, Louis XIII. Eager to examine the site, Captain Cousteau also descends. Working with the Sisseuse, he gradually exposes increasing evidence of the sunken vessel. at last finds skeletal remains of the hull of the fighting ship. A bewildering array of ribs, planks, and broken pieces, no longer joined in any clearly recognizable structural design. Cousteau returns to the deck, confesses himself baffled by the confused wreckage below. There's shattered wood everywhere, even under the planking used to sheathe and strengthen the inner side of the hull. He reports one find that gives evidence of the explosive force that ripped the Therese apart. A brick firmly lodged halfway through a board.
Le bois. Une brique incrustée dans le bois, traversant le bois. Voilà.
Falco's suggestion that they make a cut through to the hold itself, Cousteau quickly agrees. As work continues, Cousteau makes frequent inspections, usually in the mornings when the water is still unclouded by the silt raised by the divers' activity. Bit by bit, the dig reveals evidence of the ship's combat capability, reminders of its batteries of wheeled cannon whose recoil was snubbed by ropes. A large pulley for rigging thrusts out of the debris. A wooden cannon wheel is retrieved by the divers and sent to the surface. Near the frame of what once had been part of a gun carriage, Cousteau also finds a wheel and shattered axle that supported one of the ship's 70 cannon. In a playful experiment, Cousteau finds that the wheel still could function quite well. Now, probing with the suceuse, Falco gradually uncovers a heavier object. As he slowly clears away the debris, it becomes increasingly apparent that the object is made of metal, possibly bronze. With assistance from other divers, one end of the embedded object is at last exposed. It is one of the Therese's great cannon, still lying in the position where it fell 300 years ago. Laboriously bringing their cameras through a surging sea, the divers return to the Calypso. Still unused in a battle that saw 15,000 cannonballs fired against the Turks, these missiles are released from the mud.
Raconte-nous.
With Albert Falco, Cousteau greets the return of Frederick Dumas, an old friend, who joined the dive. Obviously, says Dumas, the cannon was violently dislodged by the Therese explosion. He then expresses his belief, based on chance reports of earlier removals, that no other guns will be found. Less pessimistic, Cousteau suggests they may be on the bottom still. Though any finds are destined for the museum, Dumas jokingly suggests at the present price of bronze per pound, 70 big guns would bring a big profit in the market. With most of the surrounding debris now removed, a diver is sent below to shackle the gun. At last, on signal, the great weapon begins to move. Forced through an obstructing beam, the 3-ton cannon is slowly raised toward the surface.
Écartez par là, sortez le bras un peu. Dégagez un peu par ici. Par ici. Grosse famille. Montez, écartez un peu et montez.
Laboriously and carefully controlled, lest it smash against the Calypso, the ungainly burden emerges from the sea, lifted back into a world vastly changed in the interval between its loss and recovery. A world in which even more modern cannon are useful only in limited or little wars. Today it is a museum piece as outmoded by contemporary weapons as the ballista or bow and arrow were once rendered obsolete by the cannon. Heavily encrusted with limestone and copper oxide, the huge gun at last is lowered to a supporting cradle on Calypso's deck.
Amen. Rentre un peu, Jo, encore par là-bas. Doucement. Bien bon, maintenant, doucement, amen. Amen, encore. Allez, ça y est. C'est gagné.
Un canon, hein?
Here, amid the self-congratulatory mood that envelops the team, Cousteau himself begins the chipping away of the rock-hard conglomerate that sheathes the barrel. It is only the start of a prolonged process. Hour after hour, the team chisels away the hardened gravel and sand that clogs the barrel, chipping and washing away the accretion of centuries. Slowly, the weapon again takes on its original, precise contours. As the entire team attacks the weapon with chisels and cleansers, hammers, and even electric metal brushes, the gun finally appears as it was. Once more, the bronze glows. Again, the molded designs have emerged. The proud symbols and charms given the gun in its baptism at the foundry, but which failed to save it from defeat. Albert Falco gives a last prideful inspection to the recovered piece, about to take its place in the Heraklion Museum. In the dusk, the Calypso crew also prepares to move on.